This is the Long Haul Pedalcast with John McGavick and Steve Schools. Incredible stories of endurance coming from the prairies. Be inspired to create your own long haul journey. Okay, welcome back, listeners, to the Long Haul Pedalcast. If you enjoyed part one of our pedalcast with Adam Smith, you will really enjoy this second part as we go into even more great stories with Winnipeg's Adam Smith. Let's step back now and look at, like, how did you get into the sport of cycling? You're growing up, you living in Winnipeg, like St. Vital area. You know, you're going to high school like every other kid. You're running track. You're biking. You know, but how did you get into cycling? What was that?
Coached by your friend Jeff McMillan.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yes. I've actually watched Adam win a medal on the track.
Oh, really?
In running.
Okay. Yeah.
But
cross country, also a cross country star.
Yeah. But how did you get in? Like let's go back many years.
Yeah.
How did you get into this sport? This crazy sport.
My dad was a cyclist when he was younger. So he was interested in it already. I think I actually started with Kids of Steel and triathlon.
Okay.
I mean, I was quite young, maybe like 5 or 6, but I was just kind of racing for fun, and from there joined Kids of Mud and got into cycling through Kids of Mud, Alter Ego Kids of Mud, which I think a lot of Manitoba cyclists do.
And what is Kids of Mud, for those that don't know?
It's a mountain biking kind of club where you go out and ride a couple times a week, organized through different bike shops in Manitoba, and on the weekends, it's in the spring, and on the weekends there's the Manitoba Cup mountain bike races, which I got into as well. That's.
And how old are you at this point?
I can't remember exactly, but it must have been like
you might be 8
or
9.
9.
Yeah. So this is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Roughly.
So.
Only 10 years ago.
So I was, riding with Alter Ego Kids of Mud and playing a lot of other sports as well. Like,
right, you're not thinking of like bike racing at a high level. You're just playing, participating in sports.
Yeah, I was playing hockey, and I mean, I'm a competitive person, so like I was trying to do well in the Manitoba Cup mountain bike races, and like I wanted to do well. My dad was watching the professional races, like the big ones, like the Giro, the Tour de France, Paris-Roubaix, Tour of Flanders.
So you're seeing it on TV.
And I would watch it with him, and I was kind of like, I mean, I thought it'd be cool to be a pro, but I was just like, these races are super cool, and the riders are, it's such an amazing, just sport. I was playing other sports too, and I was kind of just doing a whole bunch of things. And I mean, I was quite into cycling, but I was into other things as well. And it was I think just in general, I'd have to thank my dad for getting me into it. And then also just the Manitoba cycling community.
Yeah.
A really great community, and had a really fun time starting out with that. And it was probably around COVID when I stopped playing hockey and kind of focused on cycling a bit more. And that's kind of when I became really obsessed with pro cycling and was, watching everything I could, listening to everything. And that's kind of when I started to think that and decided that I wanted to try to become a pro. And it kind of progressed from there. But, that's kind of how it all started.
And what were some...
Sorry to interrupt, but was there a moment, and I know some guys have different stories, like Paulo Saldana did a VO2 max test, and all of a sudden he realizes, I've got this engine, right? Someone does a race, and they're like, they trained all summer, and all of a sudden beat everyone.
When we talked to Lindsay, he was just a rider in Manitoba, and then he goes to do a mountainous race, and he gets second.
In Alberta.
And he's like,
I think I'm good.
I can maybe do this. Yeah.
Right. Did you have a moment like that?
I'm not sure if I can pick one moment, but I think in the mountain bike races, the Manitoba Cup mountain bike races, I always did like pretty good. I wasn't like, it wasn't anything crazy, but I was always doing quite well, and I guess I knew that I could be quite good at it. And I was doing running as well, like cross country and stuff, and I guess I won a couple of those races as well. And so I guess I kind of knew that maybe I had like a good talent in endurance sports. But so I guess it kind of slowly progressed and I got more success. But one moment in particular would be kind of kind of hard to say, but we did do like some testing with the provincial team, just like a 20-minute test and things like that. And I would always do, like pretty good, and I could see that I was progressing slowly.
Was there a hilly race, like even maybe of a Kids of Mud race or a road race,
Yeah.
where all of a sudden you're on the front and then you realize you've dropped a whole bunch of people? Or
like the races were always quite close, the mountain bike races, because I started with mountain biking and didn't start road for quite a while later. But the Birch mountain bike race was
Okay. Yeah.
like, it's quite a hard and it really, you have to be strong to do well. And I mean, we were just
climbs.
kids.
They're steep climbs.
Yeah.
And the little kids, it's tough climbs.
We were just kids, but me and my twin brother did.
Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson. Yeah. We came first and second by maybe a bit more than, like, normally it was quite close, but yeah, we did really well in that race. And maybe, I mean, I guess that showed that we were better climbers. And we were when we were younger, I mean, I still am, and we still are, like, really skinny, but
Right.
at the time we were really, really skinny.
Yeah. And I actually remember the story, like, after that happened, everyone was like, oh, like, Birch is too hard for Kids of Mud races because it's so steep. And they were trying to make it easier, but it's such big climbs there. So,
I like the course.
Right.
I think, I think my brother and I were the only ones who actually did the whole laps. But yeah, it's a super hard course, and it was fun. And I mean, we were just like 11, or I don't know how old we were, but it was a fun race for sure.
I can imagine the size of the smile on your dad's face as a cyclist, just watching his two sons climb up that hill and no one in sight, and just thinking, there's something here.
Yeah.
There's something here.
So that was the mountain biking. You start to get into road racing, but what about like a national level race?
Yeah.
That you did, that was kind of, because like I remember we talked a little bit before the Pedalcast about 2022 Nationals in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Where I was announcing, and I see you guys there, and like I don't know if that was the race you want to talk about, but just one of those races that, you're starting to get into a higher level.
Yeah. That was probably the first bigger race that I had done kind of outside of the prairies.
Because you're only like 15 at this point, I think.
I was 15, and that probably wasn't the race where I realized I can do well nationally. But yeah, the race was, I mean, I met a whole bunch of good people. And a little bit about the race, I was quite sick before the time trial, so I didn't start that. And I got a bit better and did the road race and started, but crashed in the feed zone most of the way through the race, before, like, with one lap to go, and didn't finish. And then I didn't start the crit because I can't remember how I was injured, but I couldn't really ride a bike that well. And
right. So it's kind of like the reverse. Like your first big race on a national stage, you don't finish any of the races.
Didn't finish a single race.
Yeah, but you kept at it. Like you met people, and obviously it was a very exciting event.
Yeah. After that, we had done. I went with Tyler Hartle, and we did. Who
had a really good nationals that year.
Yeah, we went to the Future Champions Camp, which is a camp on Vancouver Island, run by, at the time, Nigel Elsay and Richard Wools, who are two like big coaches within cycling in Canada. And there were a lot of good junior cyclists from around Canada that went there, and I learned a lot from the coaches, and also and met a whole bunch of riders from around Canada that were super into cycling like I was. And that was a really great experience. And before maybe going in, I kind of saw the other riders as like just another level. Like, even though they were my age, it was like the guys from Ontario, and they were just, it's crazy. But they're like a different level. But when you ride with them, and I kind of learned that we were similar.
That is so important for Manitobans to listen to, in my opinion, is to put yourself with those other guys and to take them off that podium.
Yeah.
And to put yourself in that same category and say, if I just train like those guys, Soren talked about not having the mountains necessarily here, but I think it's so important for you to be in that mix and realize, you know what, I can mix it up with these guys. I can do that.
Yeah. Maybe they have some more race experience, but oftentimes Manitobans are just as strong, and like you can still ride hard on the flat. And I remember, definitely like, so there was a junior team, Ignite Junior Cycling, and most of them were from Ontario, and I kind of thought, like, I saw them as like just professionals basically. And but when you get there and you ride with them, it was
they're just like you.
And it was super nice, and they were all really nice, and made some good friends there. And that was a good first experience to learn a lot and meet some other cyclists from all over Canada. Yeah.
And that was 2022. So maybe just a little bit on 2023. Like, you've kind of experienced some high level racing. Now you're actually officially a first year junior in 2023. Just that progression, like just understanding now that kind of next step that you took the following year and coaching and that.
Yeah. 2023. It was the year of Canada Games. And in Niagara Falls. So we were kind of building up to that with the Manitoba team. We raced. I did a couple races just with my dad. Some like Cat 1-2 races. One in Canmore and one in Wisconsin or something.
Right,
like that.
you'd gone to Canmore. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, in Wisconsin. And when you say you did it with your dad, you weren't racing in the same race.
No, my dad was he was just there to help me.
Right.
So super nice of him, and like, So went down there. We went to Wisconsin with Mateus Dick.
Right. This is the tour of Dairyland.
No, it's I can't actually remember which state it was in. But the race, it was a road race, a Cat 1-2 road race, and I actually, I won the road race. I think I broke away, and I was just a skinny like little kid that maybe they didn't chase super hard, and there was a bit of confusion, and I won the race. So very surprising, but really, really fun. And then a couple weeks later, we went to Canmore, and so the same thing happened, and I won that race too. So I guess maybe that was a moment that I really started getting some good success, and I had trained hard over the winter, and that's maybe when I realized that I could do quite well in this.
Right, you start to get that feedback, like this could be your sport, and just to really keep at it. So.
Yeah.
So after Canada Games, did you think to yourself, okay, by the end of next year, I'm going to have a handful of races in Europe, and I'm going to make world championships? Because really, like from 23 to 24.
That was probably a goal to do that.
Awesome.
But I didn't really know I didn't really know how everything worked and
what the path would be.
Yeah, coming from Winnipeg, it doesn't, it's not really something that you grow up knowing, and like how everything, like how do you get to race in Europe? Like
there aren't those guys that were ahead of you that are giving you that advice or that experience.
You're just kind of blazing your own trail a little bit, at least from Manitoba at that time.
Yeah, there were definitely some Manitoba cyclists that I looked up to, like Mitch Kettler and Nick Van Dale when I was younger. But I guess like I wanted to go to Europe, and so I didn't really know how exactly what I was gonna do. But
right, like Nick and Mitch, they kind of more took the Canadian, North American racing route, race pro, like in North America. But you wanted to go to Europe.
And Murray was older.
Much older, yes.
Much older, so you wouldn't have known the Murray Carter.
Yeah. But actually, because I went to the Future Champions camp, I met some people there, and they were starting a team, PNW. That was the first year that it was going to start, and they messaged me and asked if I wanted to be on the team, and of course, So they were starting a junior team based out of Western Canada, and they were going to race around Canada, and they were going to go to Europe in the summer.
And what is that team like? You talked a little bit about what they're going to do, but how does that team come together? Their sponsorship?
Yeah, I think it was in large part the parents just organizing everything.
Okay.
So really they put in such a massive amount of effort, and they still do. PNW is going really strong, and it's getting better every year. But the parents of like Paul Rigby and Sarah Moore and just the parents of all the riders just chip in chipping in, and we had some sponsors. And but yeah, I think it definitely cost a good amount as well to be able to do these races. But it was everything was organized by the parents, and we had some good sponsors. But yeah, it was really just the opportunity to be able to race in races like nationals and other races around Canada and Europe with a team. And there's so much background work that goes into it that, I mean, I still don't really know. But really, really thankful for that opportunity on that team. And
I feel like that team PNW was a huge important step in like going from racing locally, racing for the Manitoba team, but going to that next step to race with other riders that are at your level and a team that's going to go to Europe, going to race at nationals. That seemed like a really good kind of intermediate step before trying to jump to a team in Europe.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I guess I didn't have too many options either when I was like that. I tried to get on some other junior teams, but it was. I guess I hadn't raced that much around, and people didn't like. I didn't really know what I could do. They didn't know what I could do, but it was a really great opportunity. And I should say too that Birchwood helped sponsor PNW as well. So
Birchwood Automotive from Winnipeg. Yeah, that's a great shout out.
I didn't know that. Right on.
So
thank you, Birchwood.
Thank you, Birchwood.
And I think there's a little bit of a connection with the Chipman family. Graduates of St. Paul's, where you graduated from, and I think there's a connection there.
Yeah, So really grateful for that, helping support the team. But it was an amazing opportunity, and that's kind of went into that year. That was the year. I went to Europe for the first time, did nationals as we've talked about, and Tour of Valrome, Le Mans, and Worlds. So really, really thankful for PNW for kind of like introducing me to like proper racing around Canada and Europe. Yeah.
So that takes us up to 2024. All that you've talked about, and we got to get into 2025.
And so that was the springboard. Everything in your life has started with a cold email, right?
Yeah.
You just send out these emails and say, I have a dream and I want to get there. And so one of the big emails that you sent, I guess you sent out a slew of emails.
Yeah.
And someone responded. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So after Nationals,
Nationals 2024.
Yeah, Nationals 2024. I was looking for teams for next year, and I wanted to go to Europe because I knew that, if you want to be a pro cyclist, you have, especially these days, you have to go to Europe and race over there. And especially for me, just to learn, because I hadn't had that much experience racing in Europe, and I wanted to learn, and I wanted to be in Europe, whether that was to be on a development team or just something.
And you're now, like, the following year, you're not going to be a junior. You're going to be
that was my last year
under
junior.
23, first year senior. Yeah.
So, there were a couple opportunities, but nothing was for sure, and I ended up just deciding that I wanted to go to France, because in France there's a really well supported French elite scene where you aren't a professional, but the teams give you housing, and it's just, there's a lot of money in cycling in France. It's a really big sport, and also there were some good climbing races that I could do. Maybe it wouldn't be the best for me to go to Belgium just because it doesn't.
They're flatter
suit
races
me as well.
typically. Yeah. The Kermesses.
So on the French cycling website, there's a list of different, they have different levels of amateur racing, N1, N2, N3, and even N3 is well supported, but I didn't really know anything, and I was going to email the N1 teams, and
good for you.
I didn't really know. I had no clue about anything, but I sent an email to the N1 teams, and the ones that were in a hillier area, and so I probably sent 10 or 15 emails to different teams, and I heard back from only two, but one of them was CC Atup, and I kind of was messaging them back and forth over the rest of the year, and there were a couple probably significant moments. I think doing well at Nationals helped. It kind of was my first bigger results, but the biggest was Valrome for sure in France in areas that they race a lot, and so that was a big result as well that maybe made them pay more attention to me. And then I was consistently doing well in the Belgian kermesses, which I think they liked as well, and that's when I had my first couple calls with them. And then at Tour de Le Mans, their junior team was at the race, and so I think the junior DS saw that I was racing with like my hand in like a cast. He thought maybe it was worse than it was, and so he thought that was good for me. And I think after that, I was more sure that I would be on the team, and I ended up just signing the contract. It wasn't like super serious like it would be with the professional team, but right after Worlds,
So are they at Worlds and you're?
No, it was online,
Okay.
but they wanted me to like just focus on the final part of the season, and then we were gonna and then after the race is finished, and I was still in Zurich, but that's kind of when I officially became part of the team.
So
for next year.
it's kind of mid to late September. You've now signed with an N1 team in France, in the area you want to be.
Yeah.
And for people to understand, like CCA TAP, this is a team like that had Adam Yates, Warren Barguet, Thibaut Pinot,
Yeah.
who are huge names.
Podium the Tour,
Podium in the Tour, one big stages.
Yeah.
You know, really, really big names in France and European racing for many, many years. Like how...
Did you know that going in?
Yeah, I mean, I'd done a bit of
research?
research, but I didn't really realize the scale and how big everything was, and the support, and I really just had no clue, to be honest. Like, I knew they had big riders, and I knew kind of the races that they did, but it was a really great opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like that beginner's mindset where you don't really know what you're getting into and you just go right at it.
Yeah.
And so, but that's huge. Like you finish your junior season and you've signed with a team. Like, you know, you're going to be with that team next year in Europe. So what does your training look like to get to that next year? How does that shape up?
Yeah. So my coach this past year was Scott McFarlane with Taguri training, and so we kind of worked together, and he knows he has some riders that have raced in France, and so we kind of knew a little bit about what it was like, and we kind of he set a training plan for me, and it was it's important to get a good amount of hours in, and like it's nothing crazy, just training, like having a lot of good endurance hours and getting in some intensity, nothing like crazy, just slowly, like as a junior, just slowly progressing my hours from a junior, like not stepping up insanely, but progressing a good amount, because the demands of the racing are for sure a lot more. So that was I was mostly training inside in Winnipeg in November and December. Maybe I wasn't as tough as some of like Lindsay, who was riding outside, but
Lindsay Gold,
but
200K rides in minus 20.
I was just following the plan and riding inside, and then I went over to Europe, and we spent the first month in Spain, on the coast close to Girona, where there's a lot of pros in Catalunya, and rode a lot in that month. And
it's just beautiful days.
Beautiful roads.
Low traffic.
Yeah, super calm traffic, and
everyone gives you space when they pass.
Yeah, they
all
respect
but a
you.
little more. A little more than.
There's a bit more because there's so many cyclists. I mean, there's still like cars that'll honk at you, but really nice place to train. And I was with the CC Atup. They had rented a house down there, and it wasn't like luxurious conditions we were living in, but that's kind of when I first met some of the riders on the team and got into some really good training there.
And this is a French team, so everyone speaks French?
I when I got there, I'd taken French in school, like basic French, so I knew basic, like very limited. I thought I was maybe a bit better, but I walked into the room and everyone's speaking in French, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a long year.
Yeah.
But there were some other riders on the team who didn't speak French as well. That I became really good friends with, and I also learned French. Like, I'm by no means fluent, but I got to a point where I could understand a lot more and could kind of get my point across. And a lot of them could speak some English as well, so it ended up working its way out. But it was for sure, it would have been nice to be fluent in French, and yeah.
So this is your first bit of training. You're in Europe, training in Spain, and let's go through your season. And I think for people listening, like, to fully understand your season, we're not going to go through every race, but open up Pro Cycling Stats.
Yep.
Type in Adam Smith.
It's crazy.
And you see, like, race weekend after weekend after weekend that you're racing. Take us through, like, 1 or 2 or 3 really interesting races or stories around the racing or around your training over this 2025 season.
Yeah. I think, so many races to choose from. I think it was definitely a progression throughout the year. Coming, like, as we've talked about earlier, I have raced in Europe before, but it was really, something new, and especially as a first year U23.
Right, and that's a key thing. Like, you've gone from junior, where you're the oldest year of junior. Now you're into the youngest year of U23. Yeah. So it's a big leap. Mm-hmm. That you're taking as well, the level of racing.
And I think I was probably, I needed to improve with my positioning skills and just my race skills in general, because, it's not really something that you learn going around Birds Hill or Grand Point or wherever. But, it's something I really needed to learn. And just to start off, I did well at the training camp, and they put me in the first French Cup of the year in Aix-en-Provence, which is the French Cups for the N1 teams are really important races just for their sponsors and just for, it's just important to the team. And so, that was really nice, but maybe a bit of bad luck and like not a whole bunch of experience on my part. I actually crashed in the neutral zone.
So is this your
second race, first real race.
First real race. And the neutral zone is like, hey, it's 5K until we get out of town.
Soft pedal behind the car.
Although in Europe, you're still fighting for position. And it's like the first French Cup of the season, and people are a bit like, they want to do well. It's a big race. And
they maybe want to get in that first breakaway. It's going to go right as the flag is
flying. We were all fighting for position a little
nervous,
bit. And I was...
So it's not quite the neutral zone. It's a semi-neutral zone.
I was quite new, and... Everyone, you can't go super fast, but you can still fight for a position.
Right.
So we were
there's a limited speed because the car is there, but you're trying to move up.
And I was on the side of the road and trying to move up on the side, and I kind of just get pushed off, and there was like a big ditch on the side, and I go into the ditch and crash. And that wasn't a good start to the year. I kept going for like half of the race, but I was...
The pace is so much faster.
Yeah, and I was probably strong enough. My job was to help my teammates. We had a sprinter it was a hillier course, but I was trying to help him get over. It was my first race really, so there was still a lot for me to learn. But and with the crash, I didn't end up finishing, mainly because of the crash. But
So is this your first time as a domestique?
Yeah,
Is this your first time pulling?
Yeah, I was just trying to help him positioning, and maybe looking back on it, for someone who'd not done a race and hasn't done a U23 race before and doesn't have much experience racing in Europe, maybe it wasn't the best idea to get me to help position someone. But I was helping and doing what I could. But I crashed. It was quite a hard crash. So that was not a good start. And then the next weekend there was another race, and I crashed again. And this time it was harder, and I hit my head quite hard. And it was it's probably a mix of bad luck and also not being super experienced. Maybe it was avoidable, maybe it wasn't. At the time it was just a guy kind of chopped me, but I crashed and broke the bike and earlier I had cracked the bike as well, so I now cracked 2 bikes.
Oh no!
And this is week 2 of
so
your,
I started
your
off
contract.
like, oh, I did really good at camp, and the team was like, okay, that's good. And then I crashed in the first 2 races and broke 2 bikes, and like
30% of the team's budget just went down.
Yeah.
Down the tubes.
Anyway,
And
so
these bikes, like again, these aren't
No,
$1,000 bikes.
Right.
These are $8,000 bikes.
they could try. Yeah, so that was they judge you very quickly, you know, like
Yeah.
they had a good. I think it helped that I did well at camp, and then now I was good, and then I didn't do good in the first races, and I was like not good to them, and
Right.
so
You're moving down on the totem pole.
I got taken out of like Liège-Bastogne-Liège U23, which I think I could have done well.
That's
at.
a hilly race.
Yeah.
I had and we were also doing Paris-Roubaix, and initially they told me I was going to do it, but I think after I crashed twice and had to take a bit of rest because I had hit my head,
Right.
they took me out of those 2 races. That's one thing that I kind of felt, that they can judge you quite quickly, and they also change your opinion quite quickly. And then I kind of just slowly built up the rest, like through the year, and started getting good results. And then they kind of had confidence in me again and got into a lot more racing. I think maybe a highlight for me would have been the Tour of Beaujolais in mid-June. It's in the Beaujolais region, kind of just north of Lyon, close to the Alps. Really hilly race, and it's in mid-June, so just before Nationals, just before I'm going to go.
Because you're going to come back to
Yeah.
Canada racing.
So I had been in Europe for 4 or 5 months already, and had been learning and helping the team, and really learning about the positioning and all the other stuff and gaining confidence too. So it was a 3-day stage race, and the first 2 stages were like 35 degrees, just so hot. And the first day I just exploded in the heat. Like I don't think I got heat stroke, but I was like feeling quite sick and just did terrible, and kind of just finished and was out of GC. And then the next day was another really hot 35-degree day, but I don't know how I felt much better. It's like I'd adapted a little bit over the course of a day, but I don't know what happened. But yeah, I was much stronger, and I finished in the front group and came 16th, which was a big progression from the day before. And so the final stage was the weather turned, and it was raining, and much nicer temperature. The plan was initially for me to try to get into the breakaway. So me and my teammate I felt really strong, and we were like going full for the breakaway just at the start of the race, attacking.
So the neutral zone is done.
Yeah.
They wave the flag, and you're just like right away going for
attacking, and it's quite a long fight, especially like you need to get lucky to have your move go away. The team with the race leader was controlling, but we wanted to try to get in the break, and so we're fighting really hard for this. And I've just come back from an attack, and I'm sitting a bit back in the peloton, recovering a little while. Like I feel fine, but we're kind of rotating, going in the breaks, and we get to this descent, and the first corner of the descent, I see my teammate, my roommate, just lying on the ground. He crashed, like he slid out in the corner. And then the next corner, there's like 5 guys on the ground. And then we keep going down, and like almost every corner, there's more guys crashing. And it's just like...
Stay up.
It's like super slippery because it's been really hot, and now it's raining.
So you're just trying to survive this chaos.
Yeah. And we get to the bottom, and like I was closer to the front of the peloton, and a lot of people had got stuck behind the crashes, and a lot of people had crashed too. So there may be like 20 guys at the bottom, and they stopped the race, and we waited around. I can't remember how long, maybe like half an hour, and they start the race going again and try to get into a break a bit longer. But we realized that the team with the leader, Bourg-en-Bresse, was really strong, and they were kind of just controlling and riding really hard at the front. So I kind of decided just to save my energy and save my energy for the final climb. It ended at the top of a like 10-15 minute steep, narrow climb, and I felt quite good. It was like quite steady but hard all day. I tried to position myself well for the final climb. Didn't really succeed at that. I went in like 30 or 40th position and kind of just slowly picked guys up off like the whole way up the climb and almost caught the leaders, but came fourth. And that was probably one of my better results this year. And I felt like I could actually use like the power that I had in training and do well in the racing.
And this is a pretty big result, right? Because you're racing all the top U23 teams, or most of the top.
Like
U20.
the top, like all the N1 teams
Yeah.
in France, and
Right.
it's
And you're 19, and you're racing against guys that are 20, 21, 22.
like not even U23. It's like you could be 30 in the race.
Right. Okay.
It's the level in the France amateur like scene is really high. Like in races, you can have French N1 teams that go and do races with the World Tour development teams, and we'll be doing like just as well. Like in Ronde de Lizard, for example, a UCI stage race in the mountains. We won a stage. Bourg-en-Bresse, that team won a stage, and like we had a lot of people doing well from the N1 level against like World Tour development teams. So.
Right.
It's a really high level, and it was a good result, and that was a good race this year.
Yeah, like how your season had gone, like the ups and downs. Now it's June, and you have a result like that. That's like, as you said, that really, you could feel the confidence that your training is now translating into race results. Which, again, like a lot of other sports, the training and the racing are fairly close, but in cycling, there's a lot of skill development and a lot of luck that's got to come together.
I knew that I had the power to do well, like just by looking at
your power meter,
what I've
training,
done in training.
Yeah.
I knew that I was strong enough, and I think that was a day that I could actually use the power. And like there's so many other things, like you need to be able to save your energy and position well, and that's something that I feel like I improved on a lot over the course of the year, but I had some good results and got a few top 10s here and there, but I think I feel like I'm in a much better place at the end of the year going into next year now that I've learned a lot and am hoping to use that experience to do well next year. Yeah.
And that's not something you can learn in training, right? This is something where like you raced 42 times last year in and around until you hit cyclocross season in Manitoba, but you can't learn that in your team out on the roads. You have to race to learn that positioning, to figure it out. So it is also really different from I'm just going to train, get my power up, and I'll be okay. Yeah. Like I've got to learn to be cagey. I've got to learn when to sit back. I've got to overcome the emotions. I crashed twice, and then it's going to take 4 months for the coaching staff to then have faith in me to say, yeah, you can go up the road, buddy. You know, like there's only one way to get that, and it's race. Yeah,
for sure. I think it's definitely something that you learn really only by racing. Maybe watching a whole bunch of racing, which I did, was like it's helpful to learn some of the tactics, but really when you're in the race, it's so much different. So I think it's important, to race as much as you can.
Now, I mentioned earlier, like you've got to go into pro cycling stats, look at Adam Smith's racing over the season just to see like February all the way to September, October. But another race, like, for those that follow pro cycling, you talked about Paris-Roubaix and Liège-Bastogne-Liège, the U23 versions of that. One of the other races is Lombardia.
Yeah.
Kind of the end of season monument for pro cyclists. And you got to race the U23 Lombardia. Yeah. So that maybe take us through that race, because I think a lot of people that watch pro cycling are familiar. That's a really hilly race, really passionate fans, narrow roads, all of that.
Yeah, so the U23 race is a good amount different than the pro race, and like the course is a lot easier.
Okay.
We do some of the similar climbs, like the Madonna del Gazzello, which is a bigger climb in the Pro Lombardia. But it's kind of flat for the first half. It's in north of Milan in a really beautiful area. And the first half, like all the World Tour Devo teams are there, or most of them anyways. And the first half was quite flat, just trying to get in the breakaway, because the Madonna del Gazzello was halfway through. And before that, there's this really narrow road along Lake I don't know, Lake Como or some lake over there, and super beautiful to train on. But in a race, it's
you're not watching the scenery in the race.
No.
In the race, it can get blocked up really easily. So before that, you want to be able to try to get in the break. So
and everyone else is trying.
Yeah, but I didn't
the same
necessarily know that really.
Okay.
That was what you needed to do. I thought maybe I could, but yeah, it was a massive fight for the break, and we were going really fast for the first 2 hours, and yeah, I didn't get in the break. But a lot of the stronger guys did get in the break, and that stayed away. And up the climb, I just went as hard as I could really. Madonna, it was halfway through Madonna del Gazzello.
And this is like a 15-minute climb, pretty
around
steep.
That, yeah. And so make it through. I don't know exactly what place I'm in at the top, but I'm in a decent-sized group, and then it's kind of just hilly for the rest of the race. And I kind of just fighted to the end and came 38th, which is it was the final race of the season, and it was nice to be done. I'm not I wasn't it's cool to be able to do a race like Il Lombardia U23. I think if I get the opportunity to do it again, I'll know a bit more and would try to do better. But yeah, it was a nice way to end the season in Italy too. That's another thing. Racing in different countries, the racing is different. In France, the racing is maybe slightly more. I felt like in Italy it felt more chaotic and just everywhere.
Like everything else in Italy.
The roads too, super just twisty, and so learned a lot doing that, but it was a nice experience as well.
Yeah. Now, so one thing we want to talk about is your training over the course of the season. You're almost racing every weekend over 8 or 9 months, maybe 8 months.
Yeah.
How are you managing your training? And one thing that's different about cycling than other endurance sports is your coach is not part of the team. You've got a coach that's giving you training plans and so forth and giving you feedback and advice. But then you've got a team, and the team is hey, we've got sponsors. We want to win races. We need riders to fill out our team. So how are you balancing and managing, and how does that all work? The training and racing over that kind of season.
Yeah, I think that from a training point of view, it's definitely weird in cycling that your coach is you don't see your coach every day, and they kind of set your training plan. But it's important to communicate well with them and kind of just talk through everything. And I think I had a good winter training, consistently just getting in good amount of hours and some intensity, and that training camp in Spain was a really good block of training as well. And then then the race season starts, and I guess it's a lot about recovering well after the races, because the races are really good training, 3-4 hours. Most of the time 4 hours, just full gas. You get a lot of good training stimulus from doing that. Making sure to recover after the races, and then I would have blocks of a couple weeks here and there where I wouldn't be racing, and get in the training and just making sure that I got a good amount of training hours in and was doing the intensity and kind of focusing the intensity on what my goals were coming up and that kind of stuff. So a bigger goal for the first part of the season, I was kind of building towards Ronde Lizard, which is the end of May. And so it's a UCI stage race in the Pyrenees with longer climbs. So I was kind of building up towards that. And then, just kind of focusing on your goals and just sticking to the plan and.
So was that your goal going in, or were your coaches saying to you, we see you doing well in this race, so we want you to build to this?
It was one of the bigger races that we were doing as a team, and it's a climbing race, and I knew that I was going to be doing it from earlier on in the year. I wasn't the leader for the team. The leader was my roommate, Jorgen. He's Norwegian, and he'd been in on the team last year, and he was really strong, and he ended up doing quite well in the race. He came 4th on a stage and top 10 on GC, so nice. It was nice trying to help him too, but then also keeping going on after. I couldn't do a whole bunch to help him really. You're just kind of following the wheels and maybe if I could help him in positioning and stuff like that. But yeah, that was really nice, and like we were living together the whole year going into that. Yeah, it was so. Yeah.
So you guys each have your own coaches.
Yeah.
And a race team. Are the race teams talking to the coaches? Are they
not
saying...
especially?
Okay.
I think some do more than others, but my team, it was more me communicating with my coach. Because yeah, like oftentimes on the team, you'd find out you're doing a race with not much notice. So you'd have to kind of adjust the training schedule. But yeah, it was like that for kind of all the athletes on the team. And yeah.
Yeah, looking at your Strava, it didn't look like there were some big macros. It just looked like wherever you could kind of fit in some workouts.
I was just kind of consistently training well. Like it wasn't like super big blocks and then rest, but it was kind of just staying level and consistently improving, I think. Yeah.
Now, take us through, you talk about recovery. Take us through some details of that. Like you've just done a 3-day stage race or a really, really hard 1-day race, and take us through the recovery. Like, is that riding? Is that nutrition? Is that sleep? What is that?
So yeah, when the race kind of finishes, I guess it's important to like eat well and like replenish or like eat enough carbs and protein after your race.
So you're watching what you're eating. Like it's not just grab a Coke and
after the race, like you want to get something in quickly,
right? And
then have a good meal after. And we would often we would drive to the races, and it'd be a couple hours drive back to a tube, and eat, and then just try to sleep as much as you can. And the next day, normally I would have an easier day. Maybe I would do an hour ride or nothing. But
and this is an hour, like just easy, very easy ride. Yeah,
just kind of going along.
Okay.
And it depends on how I would feel. I think it's important to listen to your body, but based on how I'd feel, that would kind of depend on that would decide when I get back into training. But yeah, I guess it's important to make sure you recover well after the races. So you don't. Yeah, the worst thing is just to be digging yourself a hole and not properly recovering.
Which you must have done. Like you put in like to date around 25,000 K, right?
Yeah,
about
I'm not sure exactly.
Almost 800 hours. Just looking at your Strava.
Yeah.
So you have to you're putting in 500 up to 700 K weeks. Right? Or more than that. And then you've got to be able to say, oh, I'm going to race Saturday. It might be a stage race too. So those key elements of recovery, sleep, nutrition, I guess mental, right? You've got to give yourself a mental break.
Yeah.
Because it's mentally stressful to be in that pack all the time.
Yeah. I think, there were definitely periods where we weren't racing all the time, and we would have time living in a tube to train properly. But yeah, before the races, I would always have be recovered going into the race and recover after the race, and just have consistent good training throughout the year. Yeah.
And are you careful about what you eat, like day after day? Are you?
Yeah, I think
because a lot of people your age, right? It's Red Bulls,
burgers,
pizza, fries, what are you pretty careful? Like, are you?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, actually, I was I got maybe too obsessed with the power and weight thing, and maybe took that a bit too far. And,
sure.
This was before I started racing a whole bunch, maybe around 2021, 2020. So I kind of learned, you want to be fueling yourself properly, eating enough food.
Right.
And obviously your weight is important, but your power is more important. So,
I
think that's a big movement in cycling now that they're realizing it's not just the math. It's,
good message.
It's the body, maintaining the body's health.
Yeah. So, I would often track my food. Not everyone does this, but just tracking just to make sure I'm getting enough. I don't really know everything, and
right, but you're trying to balance the protein, carbohydrates, fats,
and doing it a lot based on kind of feel. Maybe I could probably improve with just more knowledge and stuff in this area, but I was just kind of doing it based on just making sure I'm eating enough, really.
Okay.
And maybe I could have been a tiny bit lighter, but I don't really know, and I don't really have the expertise to know exactly what to do there.
Right.
But we were living in a tube there, and we'd be cooking for ourselves, and so you could control. And just try to eat healthily.
Right.
I would have like a burger here and there
Sure.
after a race, but just in general, just trying to eat well.
Now, one additional training question. I've seen a lot of young athletes, and we talked a little bit about this before the pedalcast, but I've seen a lot of young athletes race and jump into racing, and often the training, like they treat every training session like a race, or a lot of them end up turning into a race. But one thing that really struck me was, and I don't necessarily like the phrase following the plan, because, you could have a 3-month plan and you're not trying to follow it every day, but you're working with your coach. And if the coach says, hey, you need to take an easy day, you make it an easy day. Or if the coach says, you've got a 4-hour endurance ride, you're doing the 4-hour endurance ride, you're not turning it into a mini race or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I'm someone who kind of likes to, if the training is 4 hours at like a certain amount of power, I like to do it pretty exactly. And I like to make sure I do it properly. And if it's an endurance ride, I'm not going to be like sprinting about. But I think most athletes are like that at the kind of the higher level. And with the riders on my team, I think they mostly train.
They're pretty disciplined.
Pretty disciplined, yeah. And I would often ride with my roommates. Not like all the time. Most of the time I was probably by myself, but we'd ride together, and just in general, just sticking to the plan and not making it too complicated.
Now, you've gone through a lot over these, last 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, as far as developing as a top rider, and still lots of things to learn. But what is some advice you would give to young riders? Maybe like, the cohort of riders we have in the province of Manitoba, that 14, 15, or even older riders. Like, what is some advice that you would give? 2 or 3 things from what you've learned, the mistakes you've made, the things you've learned from. What is a bit of advice?
Yeah, there's a lot of kids, I think, looking up to you, right, and saying, I want to get there myself.
Yeah, thank you. I think, it's important to enjoy it and have fun. That's really important. Like, cycling's hard, but if you don't have to enjoy it all the time, but enjoying and being motivated for what you want to do is important. I think.
Can I interrupt there?
Oh, yeah.
Like, is it how cool is it to be in a tube as a full-time cyclist?
So fun.
Like living with a couple guys and just going racing every weekend.
It's definitely, there's some hard moments when you're coming back home after a
Crashing.
crash. And,
yes.
It's not going super well, but in general, being able to live in Europe, and I was living with a Norwegian and a British guy, and we became quite good friends, and just living together.
Which probably makes a big difference. Like, if you're good friends, you're going through the ups and downs together, you're laughing at, your various mistakes.
And it was very important that I think if I was by myself or with maybe guys that didn't speak super good English, that would have been a bit harder. But no, that was a really good thing that I had living with these 2 guys. And they know how it is too. They're racing as well, and they're having their ups and downs as well. So it was nice. We weren't always talking about it, but it was just nice to be there together and living
the dream a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So super fun, and just racing your bike around Europe is a
good thing.
Great. Yeah.
And then just follow other tips you'd give to that.
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about it before, but just racing, when you have the opportunity to race, the more you can race, the better. Just learning the skills that come, you can be strong, but also learning the tactics and all that, and listening to your coaches, and that is important. And then I think the final thing maybe would be, it's quite hard, but you got to put yourself out there. And I think for me, I wouldn't have gotten to where I have gotten without sending emails, for example, to be able to do Tour of Val Romy and to get on a tube. I think, sending those emails and just putting yourself out there has really helped me, with so far. And I think that's been a big thing as well. It's definitely coming from Winnipeg or Canada in general. it's probably, unless you're like winning all your races in Europe, and it's not just like, you got to put yourself out there. It's not really going to fall into your lap. So yeah, I think that's important as well.
The guys in Europe are not really looking at the Manitoba Cyclocross Series to see how guys are doing, to see who they're going to recruit next.
The scouts aren't out just checking every race.
You got They should be. But you should be filling up their email box, right, with who you are, a CV, professional note.
And I think a lot of times, like you said, you sent out 15 emails and you only got 2 responses.
You only need one person to respond. Most of the time, you don't get a response, but yeah.
Right, you just got to keep at it. Yeah. Now, maybe just to finish off, like you've accomplished so much, but talk about your support group and the people that you maybe want to thank. Like, it is an amazing, all these things you've accomplished, like you've worked really hard, but there's a lot of people behind that support you and you want to recognize. So let's just go through that a little bit.
There's so many people. I think, the most important would be my family and my parents, helping me, just supporting me, and then also, helping me get to the races. And they've been there since, helping me through everything. So I think that's the most important, my mom and my dad, and then the rest of my family as well. It's, I have a twin brother who's racing biathlon as well, so it's nice to talk to him and my younger brother Callum, just talking. And it's been my family and my grandparents, everyone really. That's been
your grandparents come out to every race when you're here.
Yeah, they come to all the cyclocross races. They actually came to nationals this year, which was cool. Wow. My family, and then like PNW, my old team, and CC Atup as well, for giving me the opportunity to come to Europe has been really important. My old coach Scott McFarlane as well. I think those are some. There's so many more people, and they know who they are, but those are some really important people that have helped me get here for sure. Yeah, no,
that's really fantastic. Like, I think we've heard that from everyone. They have to accomplish these things. That support group and working together is really important.
There's a good community in Manitoba supporting young people.
Yeah, the Manitoba cycling community. That's another one. Yeah.
Next step is going to be moving up to a new team.
Yeah.
Right, Aix-en-Provence. Maybe we'll have to bring you back after a season racing at the next level. But is there anything we didn't cover, or any questions that you might have, Steve, that you want to wrap up with?
I think that was just really incredible. Like, just to hear again, like people don't realize bike racing is so up and down. Like, you've got to be able to handle the crashes, the mechanicals, the missed breakaways, so that you can get to those times where everything goes right. And I feel like you've really found a way to kind of manage that, Adam, just those ups and downs really well. So that was really cool to hear today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was nice being here. Nice chatting about all the stories. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we'll bring you back in the future, but just fantastic what you've done. Fantastic being here. And thanks, John, as well, for just a fantastic day here.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. Thanks for taking the time and giving us some insight into what it's like to jump to that next level. And you're only 19?
Yeah.
So there's so much ahead, and we look forward to following you and your career and watch it progress. So thanks again.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Wow. Steve, what an interview. I cannot believe that Adam is only 19 years old. The number of stories that we heard today over most of the afternoon, I would say, just boggled my mind. What were some key takeaways for you?
I think some of the key takeaways, like one big one, and I see this all the time in cycling, but just how he handles the crazy ups and downs, the crashes, the mechanicals, the start of the season that's not going well, and there's pressure on him to come back from that, not just like months later, but the next day. That is such a huge part of racing a bike at a high level. So really cool that he's developed that and continues to work on that. That was definitely one incredible takeaway from our conversations.
And one thing for me that really, I guess, struck close to my heart was, I'm a dad, thinking about a 17-year-old getting an email from a race director in France for what is considered the junior Tour de France, saying, if you can get yourself here, we have a spot for you on a team. And he says, yeah. I'm in. This is my dream. I'm going for it. And he got himself on a plane, packed his bike up in a box, shows up on the line and isn't worried about anything else, just saying, this is the opportunity of my life. I'm going for it. I maybe need this race to make it to Worlds. And he just puts it all on the line. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It is so inspiring to hear that story.
Yeah, and so many good stories, as you said, like just so many times where he went through that same up and down, came back, achieved, pushing towards his goals. So thank you for joining us on the Long Haul Pedalcast, and we'll see you soon. Hey, Pedalcast fans, you can now reach out to John and Steve through email. Our email is longhall@umfm.com. longhall@umfm.com. So you can send us all your questions, all your compliments, and we might get to them on the Pedalcast. So thanks for listening, and reach out to let us know what you're thinking.
Thanks for listening to the Long Haul Pedalcast. Be sure to subscribe and keep listening to all of these incredible stories that will help inspire you to create your own long haul journey.